The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Jason Hammond. I'm the product manager for DevSuite. And today we're going to be covering the DevSuite 10.1 release, as well as our product roadmap and a preview of a new product that we have coming out soon. Before we get started, I just want to cover some of the agenda items. So first, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the features that we are going to be covering. Next, we'll do an actual demonstration of those features. We'll cover some of our roadmap going forward for the rest of the year for DevSuite. Next, we'll see a preview of a simpler, easier to use interface for DevTrack. That's an optional interface some of your teams may want to use. And lastly, we'll answer any questions that you may have. Just for housekeeping, this webinar is being recorded. After the webinar, you will receive a link to the recorded webinar. We'll also put it on our website. And if you do have any questions at any point during the broadcast, feel free to use the GoToWebinar interface on the right-hand side of your screen and expand the questions section, and you can go ahead and type in any questions that you may have. At the end of the webinar, I'll answer as many questions as I can, and if I don't get to a question live on the webinar, then I'll be happy to answer it via email after. So 10.1 has taken quite a while to come out, but we're very excited that it's finally out. And it is out on our website right now. So you can actually go to the download site using our customer web portal and download 10.1 today. For existing customers wishing to upgrade, as a courtesy for customers on active maintenance, you can certainly log a ticket in the customer portal and request upgrade assistance, including free upgrade testing by our support and QA team if you'd like, or you can just download it, install it in a test environment or even your production. 10.1 has two main areas that we've improved on. First is collaboration and communication within your team, and the other is ease of use. On the collaboration side, I'm going to be walking through some of those features that really help development teams connect with the rest of their team, other stakeholders, even external users. So with that in mind, and with timelines getting shorter with agile development and just continuous integration in general, teams need to be able to react very quickly to everything going on in their development. So we've added the ability to add comments and reply to comments. We've added brand new attachment control for all of the products that makes it easier to share images, and we'll see in a minute just how nice that looks. We've improved the ability to export and share information from the system with other users. For the Agile users, we've made the storyboard much more functional by allowing you to change the grouping and swim lanes that you have, and added an easy-to-use summary view. And then finally, we've added some Gantt charts and workload management right into DevTrack as just a feature that's built into the tool itself. So we'll walk through all of those in just a minute. In terms of ease of use, we've made a lot of significant changes to the DevSuite UI to make things consistent across the modules, and then also to make things simpler too. So we have cleaner toolbars and right-click menus. We've added right pane detail frames. So you'll see in a minute that you're able to use a right frame if you'd like. We've added different one-page views, the ability to dynamically hide some of the tabs if you want to have a simpler interface. There's a very unique dual window view, so that if you want to use two browser windows, one for your list view, one for your details, you can do that now. And then there's a number of enhancements to Dev Test that allow you to do things like edit verification points in line, quickly create test cycles right out of the test library, and even copy an existing test cycle with a couple clicks. In addition to collaboration and ease of use, we've also made some changes to the admin and also some changes that allow you to extend DevSuite further. So on the admin side, we have added a snap to grid for configuration of the fields, which has been requested by many users over the years. I'll show you exactly how that works. We've also made it so that composite fields and depth track in particular can be broken up into smaller pieces. So if you only want to use a couple of the time tracking fields, you don't have to use that whole field that might have 6 fields. You can just use the ones you want. On the extension side, we've added a brand new API for DevTrack. So it now has a RESTful API to go along with the RESTful APIs offered for DevTest and DevSpec. We'll take a brief look at that documentation. And then we've also added the ability to add third-party integrations for reporting right to your dashboard. And I'll show you just an example of one of those too. So those are some of the highlights of the release today. On our website is a release note that has a detailed walkthrough of the features itself. And, you know, reach out to your account manager if you'd like to have an in-depth personal walkthrough of the software, because we're happy to do that too. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the latest version of DevSuite. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is comments. So one of the features that we're very excited about, and that really does help you collaborate better with your team, is the ability to add comments. In the past, a lot of our users would use the work description field or other timestamp fields as a means to, you know, interact and with other users. We found that while it worked, it wasn't really sufficient for what people needed to do. So in all the modules of DevSuite, we've added a new comment feature. So next to the workflow buttons you might see, and probably right off the bat you're noticing the right frame. We'll talk about that a little more later. But as I'm looking at any item in DevSuite, I will see an icon to let me know that I can add a comment. When I do that, it moves me right to the comment section, and I can see any comments that already exist there. So I can see that I've been called out, Terry, please see my comment. I can easily reply to that comment. You know, this looks great. And I can even call out some other users. So maybe I want Dean Stewart to check it out. So now I can see that comment indented as a reply. I can also call out Dean and let him know that he should look at that. And then also I can mark the comments that I've seen as results so that I know that I've already seen it, and even use my settings to show only the items that I haven't looked at yet. So this is across all of our modules, and each user can then add the comments and edit and delete their comments too. So a great way to interact with your team members. We've also added to all the modules, and I'm going to take a look, I think, at the dev test module for this, because dev test was really lacking the attachment control that some of the other modules have. But all our modules now have a drag and drop attachment control. The other thing that it does is it allows you to select multiple files at once. You can see those files as thumbnails, and you can also drag and drop items too. So it's very easy to view those items too, and they can be clicked on and viewed as a preview. And in some browsers, if it's a video, you can view that item too. So that is going to be present in all of the tools. So we can see that easily. And my mouse is now hidden. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got the commenting. We've got the brand new attachment control. For users that have in the past used reports to share data, we have a very nice new feature in all the modules that allows you to right-click and share data. So in any of the modules, if I right-click on my list view, I can click the edit button, the export button, to pull up a report that'll show you your list view setting. So in this case, I can see all the columns that I have selected, and then I have a number of different options I can use. So I can use export, and I can export this list to Word, Excel. I can print it or PDF, and then I can also share it. And when I'm sharing it, I have two options. One, I can email it as a URL, and I can also copy it to clipboard. So the copy to clipboard option allows me to easily copy it to clipboard and then maybe just paste it into an email that I want to send from Outlook or something like that. Or I can, of course, use the email link to send a live link right from the system for your users to use too. Like I said, this is in all of the products. So even, if you're in DevTrack, for example, and you're just in your list view and you have a list of bugs, you can right-click and export that list too. On the Agile side, we've made some changes to the way Agile is managed within the tool. So if I click on the DevTrack storyboard, and if you're not familiar with the DevTrack storyboard, DevTrack has built-in features for Agile so that whether you're using DevTrack primarily just for your bug and task tracking, or whether you want to use it for Agile, you can toggle between a list view and a board view. So any folder, sprint folder, can be viewed as a board. And one of the things that we've added in this new release is the ability to use different group bys. So previously, it would always group by owner, which was great. So I could see each of the owners, and I can see their workload, and I can see a roll-up summary of what they're doing. But now I can actually toggle that by different fields in the system. So maybe for Sprint 3, I really want to focus on what the bugs are. So I can easily see what the bugs are and what their status is. The storyboard, regardless of which group by you're using, you can then change the status of items just by dragging and dropping them to the different statuses. The group by will include any fields that you have as drop-down fields. So, priority, for example, could be very useful. All the critical or urgent items, you could view those two just in line and then drag and drop them. We've also added a summary. So the summary is a built-in report right into the DevTrack interface. You don't have to go to the dashboard to see it. And it'll give you sprint properties, like the number of items in each status. It'll give you a mini version of the burn down, and you can actually click on this button to do the full report if you want to, or make changes to it. And then you can also see the workload and other time tracking elements here too. So it's just a convenient place to see a summary of exactly what's going on in the sprint without feeling like you need to run a report or go to your dashboard. So those are some of the key collaboration items that are in DevSuite 10.1. Once again, while I did cover them in different modules, they're all items that are cross-module except for the Agile setting. So, but the attachment controls, the commenting features, the exporting are all present in all the modules, and they work exactly the same in each of them. So now let's talk a little bit about what we've done to make the tool easier to use. Ease of use and the UI are things that come up all the time in customer meetings, getting feedback on the product. And we like to take a lot of those ideas and incorporate them in the tool. So one thing that we heard right off the bat was that sometimes DevTrack provides you with more information than all the users need. So what we did was we added the ability to toggle some of that data on and off. So the summary header, for example, great information, shows time spent, time remaining, but some users may not want to see that. They may just want to see a cleaner UI, and so you can certainly do that too. You can also hide some of the icons so for example, in DevTest, if you wanted to completely hide the action bar and only use the right mouse click menus, you can do that too. So just little things that allow you to simplify what you see in the UI. Along those lines, the right click menus have been greatly simplified. Before, the right-click menu would go almost to the bottom of the page. So what we did was take the most important things and we put them right at the top. And then some of the other items, we have put in, we've grouped together, like the sharing or the watching or the inter-project actions, and then put other items down at the bottom. So what we wanted to do was just have a cleaner, simpler right-click menu for all the products too. Now, as you probably already noticed, just throughout the demo, we have presented a right detail frame for the products. So with more and more users using widescreen monitors, and today I'm duplicating my desktop so that the resolution is better for all of you. But in a minute, I think I'm going to switch to the full widescreen so we can appreciate one of the new features that I'm going to show you. But with the wider monitors these days, it is very convenient to have both your list view and your details just side by side. So we have done that in each of the products. DevTest is a little unique in that in DevTest we do allow you to choose whether you want to have the brand new right frame or whether you would like to use the older frame that allows you to see it at the bottom or the top. So you can do that too, and continue to have that option too. So that's definitely something we offer also. Next feature I'd like to talk about is the dual frame view. So what I'm going to do here, and don't be alarmed, my resolution is going to look very small for a second for all of you. But the new dual monitor view allows me to use a second window. So you can see, as soon as I enable that, a second window pops up in DevSuite. And as I open items, let me just make this minimized. All right. As I open items in my list over here, they open over here. So if you use two monitors, for example, or you just want to, you have a nice widescreen monitor like this, and you want to see your list view over here and your details over here, you can use them in two monitors. This is present for all of the products also. And it does give you the ability to have all of your tasks, bugs, test cases, or requirements over here, giving you tons of space to work with them. The nice thing too is when I close this, all of my open tabs will go back over here in the window, and then you can continue to work on them there if you wanted to. I'm going to do that, and now we're going to switch back to the duplicated view. All right. So just an example of how you can use the new dual view support. In DevTest, we've made some specific, I'm going to close some of these windows out. We've made some specific changes to make DevTest easier to use. So first thing I want to talk about are verification points improvements. If you're not familiar with DevTest or verification points, DevTest is the task management piece of DevSuite. It allows you to create test cases, to plan test plans, and to track the execution of those tests. Verification points is just a fancy name for steps. So we allow you to have, within a test case, multiple steps that need to be run. And what we've done in the new version is allow you to freely edit those. So I can change a step. I can change a step here. I can also drag and expand this field too if I wanted to make it larger if you have a long list. But the idea is to make it more like Excel so that you can freely edit it. We'll also, when we cover the roadmap, be talking about some additional improvements that we're going to make to verification points in the next release in a couple months. But for now, we've just made it cleaner. If you do have lots of steps to column headers will stay fixed, and just in general, we are using a nicer, newer UI control for those verification points. Another thing that we've added to DevTest is, and let me open a new project here, is we've added a new way to create test cycles. So DevTest previously only allowed you to create a test cycle from within a work project. With the new version, we've done something different, and we now will let you create a test cycle right from the test library. So you can select the coverage that you want to assign out, and then you can just select new quick test cycle and just assign it directly in there. So I can call this test cycle 5. I can find the release that I want to put it in, the environments I want to use, and then I can finish to create it. So very quick, new test cycle created. Didn't need to run the wizard or anything like that, and I can add the coverage right into it. The other thing that that new test cycle can do is it can also augment your release coverage with additional coverage if you want to. So that's optional. Of course, you could continue to keep the plan the same as it was, but if you did want to add more coverage that's not currently in that, this will allow you to do that. So a brand new way to create new test cycles. Also in DevTest, we've made it easier to create a test cycle from an existing test cycle. So if I'm looking at test cycle 5 here, I can just copy this test cycle, and it'll create a new copy of this test cycle with all of the tests in it, but reset to a new test state so that you can quickly regress that. Now what's really great about this is if you've just defined a smoke test once and you want to run it against every build that comes out, once defined, just right mouse click and go, and you can copy it. Before you had to run wizard and things like that, but we've really been trying to make changes, especially in DevTest, to make it easier and quicker to use so that you can focus on your testing and not on having to configure things and set it up. Those are just a couple changes on the ease of use side to all the DevSuite modules. Now, one of my favorite features of the new release is something that people have asked about for quite some time, which is Snap-on Grid for the admin. So if you're not familiar with Snap-on Grids, it is a way to make it easier for you to set up the UI. So you can see now I'm in DevTest. Let me open a different project that might be a little simpler to start. So if I am in DevTrack, look at my description page, for example, I can now move fields around. It'll tell me whether or not it's going to interfere with another field, and it'll also show me where the left axis is going to show up so that I can easily move these fields around in the UI. So no more having to play around and trying to line everything up. We make it much easier to line up all the fields now and have them be a nice, clean line. This is available in all the modules. So, and if I want to expand the size, I can easily draw it right to the grid. The nice thing about the grid, too, is you can define how big or small the grid is. So that if you want to have, a little more detail in terms of incremental changes, you can do that, too. We've also, as I mentioned, changed some of those composite fields so they can be unlocked and used separately. In terms of extending DevSuite, I do want to cover a couple things that are new. We have released the DevTrack 10.1 RESTful API. Some of you might be familiar with the API currently in DevTest and DevSpec. This is very similar. You just install it on the web server, and then you'll be able to see the different actions you can take And as you click on each of these, it'll give you details in terms of what information you need to provide, what each of the messages mean when you see them, and you can actually even run through some of these items using the API, so you can do some testing on it too. So that's available to any user that currently has the API. Just let us know, and we'll give you the new installers for the DevTrack RESTful API. And we hope that that is very helpful in allowing you to connect DevTrack to other tools you might be using. In addition to connecting, another way that we want to be able to connect to other tools that you might be using is via new integrations with third-party reporting. So now on my dashboard, you can actually create widgets that point to external reports like this one that I'm showing here. So within the dashboard itself, you can point the dashboard to reach out to third-party tools and then display those reports right on your dashboard also. So those are some of the highlights of the DevSuite 10.1 release. I certainly didn't cover every possible feature change, so if you're expecting a feature and you didn't see it today, don't be alarmed. It's probably still in there. Take a look at the release note, or I'm happy to schedule one-on-one meetings to talk about the new release also. But part of what we wanted to cover today, too, is some of the newer things coming up. Let me get my slideshow going here. And that's what's coming in the next release, too. So we don't always get a lot of opportunities to talk to our customers. So while we're here, let's talk about some of the things that are coming out in July, and then some of the things coming out at the end of the year. In DevTest, we are making significant improvements to the DevTest planning wizard to make it much faster, even if you use a lot of environment variables or have millions of test cases. So that'll be coming in the next release. We also have a DevTest direct to Jira integration coming out using their APIs, and also includes a plugin for Jira that will allow users to submit bugs directly from DevTest into Jira without using DevTrack as an intermediary, which is the current approach that we have. When you do submit those items, they'll map back data directly into DevTest, provide you with a link in DevTest right to Jira, and in Jira you'll have a link to the test case too. That integration is also going to include some integration between DevSpec for requirements and Jira 2. For DevSpec, we're also adding a customer portal functionality so that you can submit enhancements directly into DevSpec from the customer portal. It'll be a great way to share that functionality with your customers and users. So if you have external users that may not be licensed DevSuite users, they can still share requirements with you and give you feedback on the requirements that you do have. This summer, we also have the new simplified Project One interface coming out, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So this is an interface that doesn't replace the existing DevTrack interface, but provides you with a different way to look at DevTrack data. And I think you'll be pleased with what you see. I'm going to show that in just a second. And finally, we're working on a web-based admin for DevSuite. The first part of that migration to the web is going to come in July, allowing you to do things like set up project members and some of the other basic functionality. And then by the end of the year, the whole admin will be available via the web too. So no more Windows client for the admin. And we can see that right here. So for the Q4 release, complete DevSuite web admin, integrations with HipChat and Slack, and then some additional improvements to our PPM module, DevPPM. So let's now take a look at the brand new Project One interface. So one thing that comes up frequently with DevSuite users is they're power users, they really love all the functionality of DevSuite and need all that functionality to really do their job. And then there's some users that want something much more simple. And a lot of times those users work together on the same teams or in the same organization. This new approach allows users to see their DevTrack items as a simple, very visual list of items. So if I'm a developer, I can see all the items that have been assigned to me, the items that I have in progress, maybe the items that QA is working on to validate. I can see all of those items in a very simple, easy-to-use board view that allows me to see the details over on the right and allows me to easily drag and drop them to change the status of them. So a bug was found by QA, I can work on it more. On the right-hand side, the details that you do see can easily be customized so that if you may not want to display every possible field initially, but you can add those fields by clicking on simple icons to add them in. All of the administration for this tool, adding members, everything's all right there in the interface too. If you want to add a new team member to your project, you can do that. And, or view the data as a list, you can also do that. But just a different way to look at your DevTrack data. Very simple. Can also work standalone without DevTrack 2. And that'll be coming out this summer. All right. So that's the Project 1 preview. Also, many of you may or may not know that we also offer DevSuite and all our tools as a cloud offering too. So you may have DevSuite, or maybe it's just DevTrack and DevTest installed on your local servers. We do have the option to offer it to you as a service too, and allowing you to save on your IT infrastructure costs. We handle all your upgrades and updates. So we'll reach out to you and say 10.1's out. Would you like us to upgrade you to 10.1? So no headaches about upgrading yourself or testing it. We do that for you. And then also a flexible usage model too. So if you do have to scale to double your users at one point in the year, and that's only for a couple months, you can do that too. We do have special offers right now for customers that may wish to migrate from on-premise to our cloud offering. You can reach out to your account manager and they can share that with you, but it's 30% off the hosted costs for your first year. So it's a very significant savings, and it makes it so it's not that much more than your regular maintenance probably is now. All right, so that is an overview of all the things that are in 10.1. Now I'm going to answer some of the questions that have come in during the webinar. If you do have any questions, feel free to continue to add them using the question control over on the right-hand side, and I'll answer them as many as I can. So first question is kind of a recap of something I said earlier, but when is 10.1 going to be out? 10.1 is out now, so it's actually, you can download it right from our website. Just go to techexcel.com and sign in, and then go to the download tab, and you'll see the installation files for 10.1 or for DevTest, the 6.1 installation files. I did notice, okay, there's another question. I did notice with the attachment control, is that browser specific, and do I have to use ActiveX anymore? For the attachment control, it does not use ActiveX anymore. It works on all the browsers. We do allow you to continue to use ActiveX for IE if you want, but you do not need to use ActiveX anymore or Java in any of our modules. So the exporting, the everything, the attachment control, all of that no longer uses Java or ActiveX in DevSuite. So if you are struggling with that at all, or have struggled in the past with Java or ActiveX, you can get rid of all of them in the current version of the tool. Okay, a couple more questions before we wrap it up. Okay, DevTrack Okay, so for the RESTful DevTrack API, can I use that with the previous API that I might have had? So the RESTful API is using the same integration server as the previous API that DevTrack used, but it is a different interface for it. And it would be good to talk with support or professional services team about how you can leverage that. But we would be happy to walk you through that, or just let you try the RESTful API and get a sense for how it works yourself. The nice thing about the RESTful API is the documentation is consistent across all modules, and it's also consistent with industry standards. So it should be something that, if you're familiar with RESTful APIs, it should be something that's very familiar to you. Question about the snap-on grid. Will the snap-on grid work when I upgrade? So I just upgraded my system earlier this week to the newest version with the snap-on grid, and the snap-on grid will leave your UI in place. But what it will do is, once you do open that admin, if you start moving things around, then you do have the ability to use the snap-on grid too. So it certainly won't have any negative effect on your UI or your layout when you initially log in. Okay. And here's another question. Is a URL email link for the report will refresh, or is it static view at the time the URL was created? So we have web query reports that are live, but we also have, for that export, I believe it is static view of the data, but I can confirm that and let you know after the call. But because it's pulling specific list of issues, you would see the status of them, in real time, but you might not see new issues that were added or anything like that, if that answers your question. Okay, let's answer one more question. Let's see, I actually pull this out. Okay, question about, should I wait to get DevSuite 10.1.1, or should I just upgrade to 10.1? I would always go ahead and upgrade to the current version of 10.1, and then when 10.1.1 comes out, the difference between the two and the migration path will be very simple. So the more current you stay on our products, the easier the upgrades are. If you're on version 8 or version 9 or something like that, then there is more involved in upgrading to the latest version. But upgrading from version 10 to, version 10 February patch to version 10 April patch is usually very, very simple. Sometimes there's not even database changes or anything like that. So I always recommend trying to stay on, at this point, I would hope everyone's still on 10, is on 10 or above, and now it'd be great to get you on 10.1. All right, and one more question. I lied, so I'm going to do one more question. For the verification points, can I add new verification points from the actual description page, or just edit them? One of the things that is coming in the 10.1.1 release is the ability to add verification points without ever clicking on the setup button that you currently may need to use. So that is something that I was hoping was going to be in this release, but it is going to be out in just a couple months. All right, so it is 11:45, and that is all the time that we have allotted for today. I do appreciate your time and joining us for the webinar. I hope you saw some things today that make you excited about this release, and then also the releases coming up, including Project One. Thanks again for joining us, and you will receive a recorded link to this webinar if you'd like to review it again, or reach out to your account manager if you'd like to have a one-on-one meeting to discuss anything that we've covered today. Thanks so much, and have a great day.